This time on Weeknight Mysteries, we are talking about the mysterious Jamison family death. I'm here with Rain. How are you?
As always, everyone, hello. I feel completely okay. How are you today, yours?
I'm doing good. Right off the bat, what do you know about the mysterious Jamison family case that we're going to be talking about today?
Well, honestly, I just watched a BuzzFeed video about it, and actually, prior this, I don't even know about them. They weren't in my radar. How about you?
I knew about the Jamison family death. I had talked about this particular case on a separate podcast that I used to do back in the day. I do remember some of the details, and I had to go and investigate the case, prepare some notes, and I'm really excited to kind of walk you through the details and kind of get your take on this case because I feel like this particular case has so many different angles, so many different leads in the case that honestly anything could be a possible explanation into why the Jamisons died. But let's start from the beginning.
Okay, let's go for it.
The Jamison family, which consists of Bobby Jamison, 44, his wife, Sherilynn Jamison, who was 40, and their daughter Madyson, who was 6, mysteriously disappeared on or sometime after October 8 in 2009. Their remains were found 4 years later, in November of 2013. No cause of death was determined, and the circumstances surrounding their disappearance remain unknown. It is believed that the family died within hours of their disappearance, although some people suspect that maybe they had been hiding in the woods for a longer period of time before they died. The Jamisons were from Eufaula, which is a small city in Oklahoma state. The family was reportedly considering the purchase of a 40-acre plot of land near Red Oak, about 30 miles from Eufaula, at the time that they had vanished. Your initial thoughts on the setup for the case?
Right off the bat, I just want to ask, where is this plot of land they were trying to buy? Was it within the area where they disappeared?
Yes, it almost seems like on the day when they vanished, they were heading towards Red Oak because they disappeared, let's say, midway from Eufaula to Red Oak. You kind of have to take these really rural Oklahoma, isolated roads. And their truck just stopped in the middle of the road for some reason. And yeah, it almost seems like they were actually heading towards Red Oak from the map.
I see. Were there any engine problems?
No, I don't think the car had any problems, as far as I'm aware. According to the family members, after a few years of living in a lakefront property, the Jamisons made a decision to make a fresh new start and move into the wilderness where they would apparently live in a container that they already had on their front yard or something like that. Pretty strange decision. Almost looks like these people were trying to do the off-the-grid lifestyle. What do you think?
Yeah, honestly, from the BuzzFeed video that I've seen, Shane, the guy mentioned something about tiny houses. Maybe they were into tiny houses, no?
I don't think that they were part of the tiny house movement, per se. I'm not sure if that movement was even a thing back in 2009.
How did this container look like? Was it just like a random container truck, or was it at least renovated at some point?
No, it's just a random container truck, almost like as if it just came off a boat.
Oh, so they were planning to live in there?
Yeah.
I was expecting something more polished.
No, it's literally like what you see on a massive shipping boat. Just a red container.
Oh, that's pretty weird.
On their first trip into the mountains in search for a suitable plot of land, they actually spoke to a local man who said that the family seemed in good spirits. I think this was a day prior to their disappearance. The next day, they loaded up their truck again, but this time they did it for the last time. They never returned. The Jamisons were looking to purchase a 40-acre plot of land near the city of Red Oak, Oklahoma, which is about 30 miles away from their home in Eufaula. The family were on a trip to find a new home, but were reported missing a few days later. According to investigators, the Jamisons family had probably not vanished on their own accord. A few days later, the family's locked pickup truck was found abandoned in Latimer County, Oklahoma, which is a short distance south of another small town called Kinta. So, a few days later, after the family was reported missing, their truck was found abandoned in a, let's say, isolated road in that mountainous Oklahoma region. Why do you think they stopped? Do you have any ideas why this family would be stopping? Why they did not make the full trip to seemingly Red Oak?
Initially, I thought there were engine problems. Maybe the car just stopped and they couldn't really start it back up, so they just decided to walk towards the acre of the land. But then it didn't make sense. The second idea I had was robbery, but then once again, it did not make sense because, as far as I'm aware, all the belongings were left there, right? And the car was locked.
Exactly. So the Jamisons' bodies were not found in the truck, but their malnourished dog, Maisie, was still there. The dog was barely alive, but thankfully, the dog managed to survive. Also discovered in the truck were family ID cards, their wallets, mobile phones, and the GPS system, as well as about $32,000 in cash. The Jamisons, on the other hand, were not known for carrying large amount of cash on them. What do you make of the cash? And the dog?
I have no idea, actually. Probably like a family who were up for a hike, maybe a quick hike, maybe a bathroom break, a pee break, and they just decided to leave the dog there. But unfortunately, they never came back.
What do you think about the money? Because the family is not known for carrying cash on them. On top of that, both of the parents in this case, Sherilynn and Bobby, were on disability payments. They were not wealthy, and according to some sources, they had financial difficulties. How do they come up with $32K?
Life savings, or were they the kind of people who wouldn't have life savings? What do you think?
I don't think they would have life savings.
Oh, so do you think the money wasn't theirs in the first place?
You know, that's a very good question. I did find a comment on Reddit where one user claims that they have seen this, I think, TV show on like Discovery Investigates. Apparently, this money came from a sale of property from one of Bobby's relatives, and he was the, I guess, recipient of that money, but I'm not really certain. So there is almost like an explanation for the money, but it's not on the Wikipedia, nor is it on most of the articles that I've read. So I would say the money is still a mystery to me personally. I cannot make an assumption.
Yeah, it's pretty weird because do you think they were trying to transport that money to buy a random home in the middle of nowhere, or do you think... I don't know what to think, actually. What do you suggest? Do you have any idea, any clues?
I do suggest that is actually what is happening. That the general, I guess, consensus is that maybe they were using that money in order to buy the plot of land. So the money, why they had the money on them, maybe is not a big mystery. I would say the origins of the money is the mystery here. Because they probably were going to use that money to buy that plot of land. It's probably about the amount that you would need to buy 40 acres in the middle of nowhere in Oklahoma. That's probably what it would cost. So I'm thinking that the origins of the money is the bigger mystery for me personally in this case.
That's true, but it seems like we have an answer.
We definitely don't. A huge search effort of the mountain area was conducted by local police department, but nothing was found. A local hunter stumbled across 3 skeleton remains lying side by side, face down in 2013. The bodies were found less than 3 miles from where the truck was found. So 4 years after the family went missing, some hunters found their remains. This is immediately interesting to me because the sources that I've seen claim that the family was found face down, side by side. However, we watched that BuzzFeed documentary, and as you recall, on BuzzFeed Unsolved episode, they claim that the bodies were kind of scattered. Body parts were scattered. It wasn't. They didn't necessarily mention that they were lined up in an orderly manner. What do you think about that? Do you think that which source would you believe? Some random source on the internet that I just found, or BuzzFeed Unsolved?
I have no idea what to answer with this question, actually. I'm gonna throw it back to you. Which one would you believe?
Yeah, good question. I have no idea either. You know what I mean? I'm just asking you the questions that I can't answer myself. Now, a picture of Madyson. This is bizarre, and this wasn't on BuzzFeed. So I will need you to take a look at this picture in 2 seconds, okay? A picture of Madyson taken in the mountains the day before the family was reported missing was found on the father's, Bobby Jamison's phone, which was left locked in the truck. And I'm gonna show you this picture right now. And for everyone who's listening to this, you could find the picture on our YouTube channel. Now I'm showing you the picture, and this is 6-year-old Madyson, one day before she went missing. I'm not gonna tell you anything right now. What are your first thoughts? Because I'm pretty sure you're seeing this image for the very first time in your life, so this is perfect for us because we're just trying to gauge your reaction. What do you see? Is this a normal picture to you? Is this a weird picture to you? Like, what are your thoughts?
Initially, it looks very spooky. But upon looking at it, it definitely just looks like a little kid trying to pose for a picture. You know how little kids would just look around everywhere whenever you take pictures of them? It just looks like a regular picture.
Well, I want you to remember this picture because I will throw it back to you on the final parts of this episode.
Okay.
Footage from the family's home surveillance system, time-stamped the day they left their house, showed the couple making several silent trips between their vehicle and the home as they methodically packed to leave. In the footage, the couple movements were described as trance-like. So, I tried to find the full footage, and I'm showing you a few like stills. And honestly, I don't think we have the full footage. On YouTube, we just have like a few frames. And from the frames, I guess from the few frames that I kind of took screenshots of, the family does look pretty spooky. It's been described as if they were making way too many trips than necessary to complete the packing. On top of that, apparently in some instances, either Bobby or Sherilynn are also wearing different clothes. They are also not talking to each other, and at some point allegedly just standing still as they're packing and not doing anything. What do you make of that?
I'm gonna go for the less spooky route. Maybe they were fighting? Maybe they were just packing up. There's too many stuff. Okay, how many boxes or bags were found in the car? Were there any found? Do you have any information about that?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Because if boxes were found, then it would make sense, right? Too many trips. It's a huge house. They've been living there forever. Probably would take forever to pack up. But the not talking, it was spooky at first, but maybe they were in a fight and they just don't feel like talking to each other. Just finish the job and get out.
Actually, I never thought about that, so thanks for bringing this up, because I immediately leaned towards the more spooky side of things here, but actually now that you word it that way, I could see that being the case. The video also shows Sherilynn place a mysterious brown briefcase in the vehicle that was not found in the car later on. A former sheriff working on the case remarked that he believed that briefcase could be an important clue. The briefcase and Sherilynn's personal handgun have never been recovered.
No, that's just weird. I don't know. Was there a river or a stream from the area where they were found? The bones, the bodies, the remains.
As far as I understand, not so much.
So the briefcase probably was not washed up somewhere else. It just disappeared.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's in the briefcase?
Cash?
More cash?
No? Or isn't the money there?
Well, they had 32K under the driver's seat in the truck.
Oh.
So what's in the briefcase? More money, do you think?
The Bible?
The Bible?
Mm-hmm. Oh, you haven't mentioned the Satanic Bible yet.
I will mention it soon enough, but it's okay. Keep that thought. Do you think they stored Bibles there? Maybe some witchcraft?
Oh, I don't know. There's a weird plot twist in this story that I kind of spoiled. Sorry, guys.
Nah. Bobby and Sherilynn were incredibly thin and emaciated when they went missing. This led to a theory that they were hooked on crystal meth.
Where would they get that from, though?
Apparently, it's pretty common in Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this makes sense because if you have 32K with you in cash, why would you be skinny? Why would you be malnourished? Wouldn't you be at least healthy? I mean, you have the money to eat,
Yeah.
right?
So you think that there could be a chance they were on drugs.
Yeah.
This is a fair assumption. I have the same idea in my head. Both Bobby and Sherilynn were also very paranoid. In the month before their disappearance, they were complaining to their friends and family about ghostly visions and hauntings in their Eufaula home. However, police found no evidence of drug taking or illegal substances at their property when it was searched. The Jamisons had reportedly told their local pastor, a man named Gary Brandon, on separate occasions that they had seen spirits inside their home, and that Bobby had allegedly claimed to have been reading from the Satanic Bible. I have another account from a woman named Nikki Shenold, who is Cheryl's best friend. She said that she thinks that the Jamison family house was indeed haunted. Whenever Nikki would go there, she would feel a horrible presence. Nikki told the media that she would always leave feeling so down and depressed.
I really don't like where this is going.
Alright, me neither. It's unknown how the family were able to obtain the $30,000 that were found inside of the car. Perhaps the money points towards a potential drug activity. On the other hand, the money could have been a deposit or payment for a property, which is why the Jamisons were on this trip in the first place. However, it was widely known that the family were struggling financially at that time. So where the money came from is still a mystery to me personally. I would like to jump to Sherilynn's mother's, Connie's Cocoton's statement. She believes there's no way that the family just wandered off and got lost. She believes that the family saw something they shouldn't have seen in those mountains and were murdered by someone else. Other friends and family say that they are certain of one thing and one thing only, that the family death were not accidental. Connie also said that the way their truck was left, it looks like it had been forced to stop by someone. Everyone around here knows there are lots of evil people up in those mountains, she said. It's where outlaws like Jesse James used to hide out back in the day. It's so isolated she is scared to go up there. Sherilynn's son, not from her marriage with Bobby, with someone else. So the son is Colton. He is 19 at the time of their disappearance. Also, Sherilynn's best friend Nikki, Sheldon, and Bobby's mother, Starlet, all agree with Sherilynn's mother, Connie, and they all believe that the Jamisons were murdered. What do you think? Do you think there's a chance they could have been murdered at this point, or would you be leaning towards a different kind of let's say conclusion? Any thoughts before I tell you more about individual theories? So you don't have to kind of, answer or solve this mystery right now, Rain, but just try to tell me if you know anything, or like if you lean any type of way. I just want to get your thoughts before I give you more of the theories. So before the theories, like, is there any way that you are leaning so far in this mystery?
Yeah, actually, I have two theories on my own, personal theories. One of which they were threatened and they were trying to run away from something. Because that would make sense. The CCTV footage shows that they were packing and they were changing their clothes. Maybe they were trying to. I don't know what's happening there. Maybe they're trying to hide more or something else, and they were translate. What if they're scared? What if they were just really spooked out, really just trying to go and leave? The sudden move from a perfectly normal house, well, haunted but perfectly normal house, into a container in the middle of nowhere, kind of seems to me like they were trying to run away from something. I don't know. And what if the way the car was parked? What if whoever was following them, chasing them, actually caught up to them and then made them walk and then killed them in the middle of the forest?
Yeah, very good observations.
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you off the bat that there are a lot of people that are also leaning in a similar way. Now, I never heard about this angle of them potentially wanting to kind of live off the grid in order to kind of hide from something.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it makes sense because they had all that money with them. Where did that money come from, right? Maybe maybe they weren't supposed to have that money. Okay, let's talk about theories here. So the first theory is that it was some spiritual stuff here, like witchcraft or demonic possession that led them towards their death. It was paranormal. Okay? I know this is the one that you don't want to talk about.
Yeah, I'm too spooked out to talk about this.
Yeah, I mean, we even tried to have a dim light in the room.
Oh yeah, for the audiences, yours was trying to open a small light. Pretty light, but it made everything seem darker, and I was too spooked out, and I just requested all the lights to be open. So there we go.
Yeah, so we're gonna get the first theory out of the way.
Please.
As quickly as possible, because I know this one is your weak spot, but we have to talk about it.
Okay.
The family's pastor, Gary Brandon, gave a shocking statement to police. During the initial investigation, he said the family had been involved in spiritual warfare and that both Bobby and Sherilynn had told him they had seen spirits at their home. Sherilynn said that the spirits of a long-dead family lived with them in their house and that their 6-year-old daughter Madyson spoke with the youngest apparition on a regular basis.
Oh geez, I really don't like this. Okay, if that happens to me, I would live somewhere in the city where it's hustle and bustle, everything's noisy, and the spirits would run away. Why live in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah, sounds like a bad idea.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, Bobby asked his pastor whether he could obtain special bullets to shoot all of the spirits inside of his house. He later said he had consulted with the Satanic Bible to get rid of the evil presence in their house. A witch's Bible was found in the house after the family went missing. On top of that, bizarre messages were found written down on the side of the container that the family had planned to move into in the middle of nowhere, which was sitting outside of their house. One of the messages read, 3 cats killed to date by people in this area. Witches don't like their black cats getting killed. Nikki, Sherilyn's best friend, said that the two of them were always interested in witches. Nikki claims that once, when she was in the living room at the Jamisons' house, a gray mist descended down the stairs. It was really scary.
I have no opinion. I'm too spooked out.
Get this. Nikki also claims that Sherilyn told her that on a couple of occasions, her husband Bobby would suddenly come at her and his eyes would be completely dead and black, like he was possessed.
Okay, but I don't understand the special bullets. Why specifically bullets? Why not a sword? It's easier to swing at the ghost with a sword, no?
I guess in America, they like guns. Nikki, who doesn't believe that witchcraft was behind the family's death, added that Sherilyn would leave notes around the house saying, "Get out, Satan," and similar notes. It was her way of dealing with things. Connie never took her daughter seriously when she called herself a witch, but said that Sherilyn had told her that the house was indeed haunted. Now, this is another clue that I want to add to the paranormal side of this podcast. An abandoned wrecked vehicle was found near where the family's truck was found. And we have the image of this abandoned wrecked vehicle. It's just a vehicle. Take a good look, but I don't think you're gonna see anything of importance.
It looks trampled on.
Oh yeah, it's just a track. It's like a completely wrecked vehicle that was found close to the family truck.
Yeah, but what do you think happened here? Because it wasn't burned, obviously. Did it fall from a higher area, from the mountains or something?
So apparently this vehicle is known by the locals, and it is usually used for shooting practice with their guns. And written on the shell of this wrecked vehicle were satanic messages. Now, Sherilyn's best friend Nikki claims that Sherilyn had written over the messages on that wrecked truck with phrases like "God love you" and "peace." Nikki thinks that Sherilyn must have done that on the same day that they went missing, and that maybe someone saw her writing over the satanic messages and got really angry and proceeded to murder the whole family.
Sure. Maybe?
So, to sum up this one, do you think there's any chance that somehow the paranormal is involved in the death of the Jamison family?
As much as the paranormal spooks me out, no. I don't think so. There might be a possible or more concrete explanation on how they died.
I agree with you. The second theory that we want to talk about is that potentially drugs or a meth lab that the family had uncovered in the mountains and they had seen too much had been responsible for their death. So Bobby and Sherilyn were both incredibly thin and emaciated when they went missing, and it led to speculations that they were hooked on crystal meth. The couple were caught on a security camera outside of their house on the day when they left in a trance-like state. You remember that. They didn't speak to each other as they made dozens of trips and to from the house to pack up their truck. From their behavior on the video, police suspected that they may have been on drugs that day. But after searches in their house and property, they found no evidence that they were taking meth or any illegal substances. Connie said that there were no way that they were taking meth. It was impossible. Otherwise, how could they have looked after little Madyson if they were? They were good parents to Madyson, and they would not have been capable of being good parents if they were on meth. Bobby's mother, Starlet Jamison, is certain that Bobby and Sherilynn were clean at the time of their disappearance. But the way this is worded, they were clean, it's almost like they were high on drugs at some point in their life, but they were clean now. So maybe the family did do drugs at one point, but apparently they were clean now.
Yeah, but once again, there were no evidences found. If you're a user, you would bound to get sloppy, or at least there would be one or two evidences that would be found with you in the car, at home, like anywhere.
Unless you're very meticulous about it.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're very meticulous. But I do understand, like it's usually likely that something would be found.
Yeah, if you're a regular user, you would bound to get sloppy,
I think so.
What do you think about this theory in general?
I do think that they were on drugs. Like, I'm personally leaning towards drugs because they're acting strange on the camera.
Mm-hmm.
They're extremely thin. I mean, it's the most easy and simple explanation.
Mm-hmm.
And usually the most simple and easy explanation is the correct explanation.
True.
But the bag of money found in the truck also led to suggestions that a couple who were struggling financially died in a potential drug deal that may have turned sour. Nikki admitted, this is the best friend, it was not inconceivable that they had got mixed up in some kind of a deal to ease their money worries. She explained that a few months before they went missing, Sherilynn's son Colton, who was 19, moved back to Oklahoma City to live with his dad. Prior to that, they had been getting child support payments, but they lost those. So they were struggling to keep up with the repayments on the house. It's possible they thought they would do some kind of one-time deal, drug deal, to get them back on track, and maybe that's what they were doing up in those mountains.
Yeah, that's a possibility. That would explain the trance-like state they were in. Maybe they were just scared.
When police went through the personal belongings the Jamisons left in the truck, they found Bobby's phone. On the phone there was the final picture of Madyson taken up in those mountains. You remember that picture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Neither Connie, Nikki, or Starlet believe that that picture was taken by Madyson's parents. Starlet said, in the picture, Madyson is looking away from the camera. She looks unhappy, and she has her arms crossed. She loved having her picture taken, and if that had been Bobby or Sherilynn behind the camera taking her picture, she would not have looked like that.
I don't know, for me it just looks like a kid who was trying to be cool in the pictures. But yeah, I could see how she looked unhappy in the pictures, yeah. She kinda does look uncomfortable.
Yeah, for me also. I can't seem to not get kinda chills when I look at this picture. It looks like it could be just a normal picture, but it's just something about this picture for me.
Mm-hmm.
Once again, if you want to see this picture, you can go to our YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and watch.
Or we can make this a thumbnail.
Oh,
for the podcast apps.
Good point. Okay,
right?
This is the thumbnail. Okay, good. Well, that's easy for us now. But if they weren't doing a drug deal, could the Jamisons have walked into a drug deal? The remote Sans Boys mountain range has a reputation for being a haven for meth labs where criminals cooked up the drug miles from prying eyes of the public. Connie added, I don't know all the details, but I can tell you that Bobby had recently gone to police to report someone in the local area for running a meth lab. Obviously, that person is going to be very upset. So apparently, Bobby had reported someone of running a meth lab.
So do you think they were being followed, or they just parked in the middle of nowhere, walked in the forest, and by a stroke of luck, they ended up in the middle of a meth lab.
I feel like if Bobby actually was reporting people about meth labs, then it's immediately a lot more likely that he knows of meth labs, where they're at, and that maybe he wouldn't just stumble upon them. He would know where to find them.
That's true, yeah.
And also that statement kind of tells us that Bobby most likely knows people that do meth, which most likely makes him also a meth user because he's really thin and he's acting weird on CCTV.
Do you think the whole family just went to this meth location in the middle of the forest, 3 miles away from the highway, to make some sort of a deal? $32,000 in exchange for, I don't know, like a bag of meth. And they would sell it? They would distribute it?
But why bring Madyson?
Exactly.
And then why not take the money?
And
Because the money was left in the car. And then why take the dog and pack bags?
that's true. They seem like they were running away to start a new life.
Yeah, so I don't think they were up there doing a drug deal. Doesn't look like that to me.
That's true.
Nikki, the best friend, said that after she launched her campaign in order to find out what happened to the family, she was contacted by an anonymous woman who made terrifying claims. This tipster told Nikki that she had been involved with a white supremacist group called the United White Knights and that Bobby and Sherilynn were on their hit list. So at first, Nikki was impressed by the corroborating evidence provided by this tipster, but later she dismissed this claim. Yet she has not completely ruled out that the group of or some sort of a cult who exploit the isolation of those mountains could be to blame for the family's death. Nikki said, I went up to those mountains about a year after the family went missing. And near where the bodies were found later on, there was a line of cars parked with Texas license plates. When we got near the actual spot, there were a couple of gunshots. They sounded like warning shots to me. I don't scare easily, but that place really freaks me out. There's something not right about it.
I personally don't know much about cults, let alone in the middle of America, so I can't really give out my opinion in this one.
It's just strange.
It's very strange, yeah.
Another theory that could explain what is happening here is that a potentially family member who has a alleged link to the Mexican mafia is responsible. Now, this would be Bobby's own father, Bob Sr., who died of natural causes just 2 months after the family went missing. Prior to his passing, he had a long-running feud with his son Bobby Jr. It came to legal action when Bobby accused his father Bob of going back on an agreement to give him half of the proceeds from the sale of a gas station he owned. Now, Bobby's mother, Starlet, explained that his father Bob used to get him to work at the gas station. He even used to pull him out of school so he could help out when he was younger. It was always on the understanding that Bobby would get half the money from any sale. That unfortunately didn't happen for Bobby. So Bobby was apparently working for his dad in a gas station, and he was probably not getting paid a salary, but he was expecting future monetary let's say influx of some cash when the gas station would be sold. Now that did not happen, so Bobby took that situation to the legal, let's say, court system. Okay? And there was a lot of kind of friction between father and son for a while. Connie also has concerns. Connie now is Charlene's mother. So she is Bobby's mother-in-law. She has concerns that Bob Sr., Bobby's dad, was a dangerous man. She said that Sherilynn and Bobby were actually scared of Bob. He had a temper and he had the money. There were also rumors he had connections to the Mexican mafia. Okay. Bobby also alleged that his father was involved in meth and had criminal activity. However, police do not believe that Bob Sr. was involved in the family's disappearance. But apparently, he had threatened the family. He told them, "I'm going to kill all of you," like on multiple occasions, and even allegedly ram his car into Bobby. So definitely not winning those Father of the Year awards. But do you think he has any, I don't know, would you cast some suspicion on Bobby? I mean, how can't you cast any suspicion on this guy? Like, but do you think that he could have killed his own son and his family?
I mean, it seems like the rage and the hatred was deep enough. So I wouldn't really think of him otherwise. Yeah, he could do it.
Yeah, this guy just seems like some sort of Oklahoma gangster who was just running a few businesses and potentially had a very shady background. But he died just a couple of months after the family went missing. So he probably did it and then died soon after, if he did it. But
was he ever interviewed by the police?
the only information I have is that police do not consider him as a suspect.
Yeah, he's still pretty shady though.
There's another theory that a potentially racist man who lived with the family may have been responsible. Now, I know this is a bit of a monkey wrench in the whole story so far. Like, wait, is there a man living with them? It's like a missing, like we missed a big part of it, right?
Yeah,
racist man living with a family.
Yeah, what's with the racism?
Yeah, look at your face and you seem dumbfounded. Like, where is this coming? Yeah, okay. Let me explain. Bobby's father was not the only person who seemed to have a grudge against this family. Police thought they had made a major breakthrough when they discovered not long before the family went missing that Sherilynn had pointed a gun at a man who lived with them as a boarder, whatever that means, and forced him out of their own house. Sherilynn has native Indian blood, and this guy was saying that he hated native Indians and basically anyone who wasn't white. So Sherilynn wanted to protect Madyson. She got her gun and made this guy leave. Officers treated the man as their first real suspect, but when they questioned him, he gave them an alibi, ruling him out as a suspect.
This is also pretty weird.
Another weird detail in the case. It seems like this case is just so crazy.
Yeah, there are so many angles, so many possibilities of what could have happened.
Right, and we move now to the next possibility, that a potential depression had led to a murder-suicide. Both Bobby and Sherilynn were known to have extreme depression throughout their lives. Sherilynn's sister had died 2 years earlier, which took a huge toll on Sherilynn because she was her best friend. A long and hateful letter was found inside of the family truck from Sherilynn to Bobby. Although her mother has stated that this was common, Sherilynn's handgun was also missing from the car. Well, why would it be missing? That means that she must have brought it with her to those mountains. Could Sherilynn and Bobby, who both suffered from severe depression throughout their lives, had taken their own lives and killed little Madyson? Or did Sherilynn, who had bipolar disorder, did not always take her prescribed medicine and would sink into black moods, killed her family and committed suicide? When police searched the abandoned pickup truck, they discovered an 11-page spiteful letter written by Sherilynn to her husband, dripping with hate and resentment. On top of that, her pistol was also missing. That doesn't sound good. Now, Nikki, Sherilynn's best friend, tried to explain away the letter. She said it was her form of therapy. She would write things down when they came into her mind, but she would never have killed Bobby. She loved Bobby.
Honestly, this is one of my personal theories that somehow mental problems or mental instability was involved. Mainly because it seemed like there were a lot of paranormal things happening. Like the writing down of Satan go away from our home, the trance-like state when they were packing, going in the middle of nowhere and suddenly disappearing in the middle of nowhere, with the pistol disappearing. And I don't know, I believe you mentioned earlier, earlier in the day, that there was a hole in Bobby's skull.
Allegedly, yes. There was a hole in Bobby's skull.
Okay, so there we go. My personal theory is that it could potentially, probably, somehow be a mentally induced, is it the right word? I'm not sure. Family suicide. Kind of like the Burari murders, if you know about it, if I say it correctly, maybe I murdered the pronunciation. Basically, it's this family in India, wherein the head of the family, the guy who was leading the family, if I remember correctly, this guy was mentally ill, but he wasn't properly diagnosed. He had schizophrenia, and then he was hallucinating. He was dreaming about the granddad giving him advice, like, oh, if you do this, then the family would get lucky. If you do that, then we would get really rich. If you do that, then our goddaughter, granddaughter would finish the studies and become successful. Kind of like that. And he would talk to the whole family about it, and they would be convinced it's some sort of a natural being talking to the head of the family and leading them into luck.
Supernatural being.
Yeah, leading them to success and greatness in life. And I don't know, it's very vague because I've seen it way back then and I've read about it way back then. But at the very end, they all hang themselves because the head of the family convinced them that they would be reborn and they would be successful. So basically, that the head of the family did it one by one, and he did it last. And then that's it. They're all dead.
Yeah, makes you think if something like that is happening with the Jamisons, because I do see the similarities. At least the whole vibe is kind of similar here, for me personally.
Yeah.
Like also very dark. You know what I mean?
Really dark.
All of those apparitions that are being reported, all of those times that Bobby in a possessed state walks up to Sherilynn. Was she lying about that, or was that really happening? If it's really happening, and if it's not paranormal, is it drug related?
Yeah.
Or is Bobby the one with mental issues? Either way, get this: Colton, the 19-year-old son who lived with his mother, and Bobby, his stepfather and half sister Madyson, most of his life, only moved in with his real father a few months before the disappearance of the family. He noticed a dramatic decline in his mother's mind frame in the weeks before he moved out. He said she was really down and moody and would stay in her room a lot. He added, "I did meet up with mom a few weeks before they went missing, and she seemed a little better, like she was trying to turn things around. But the thing I find so strange is they never mentioned anything about moving out to the mountains to me. They didn't say anything about that to Colton." Sherilynn's sister, Marla, died in a freak accident in 2007 after she was stung on the tongue by a bee. Marla was not just her sister, she was her best friend. Her death devastated Sherilynn. She would spend days up in her room. She was very depressed and had to take medication. Bobby's mom, Starlet, explained that Sherilynn was a completely different person when she was experiencing one of her manic episodes. She said she became incredibly angry and spiteful sometimes. She was jealous of Starlet's relationship with her son Bobby and granddaughter Madyson. The last time Starlet actually spoke to her son Bobby was in April of 2009, so just months before, because apparently Sherilynn banned Starlet from speaking to her family. According to Starlet, Bobby loved Sherilynn and he suffered because of her moods. There was a time when I tried to get him and Madyson to move away to Oklahoma City, she says, but really I would never have wanted to split them up. They had their difficulties, but they loved each other very much. Bobby was not without his own problems though, both physical and mental apparently. He was in a terrible car wreck in 2003, which terribly badly damaged his back and left him in constant pain. Starlet said that and the problems with his Oklahoma gangster dad, Bob Sr., left him depressed.
I mean, I could imagine.
Yeah, it seems like it's a tough life for
Yeah, a
everyone
tough
there.
situation.
Tough situation, right? Another theory is that the family potentially got lost. And this is the theory that is like least paranormal, least dark. It's just the accidental getting lost. After the bodies were found last November, when they were found, they were sent away for a month of analysis. First, to determine if they belonged to the Jamisons family, and secondly, to establish a cause of death. Now, the family, though they thought they would finally get some answers, but agonizingly, the family members and relatives were not given those answers because the remains were so disseminated and decomposed that the results were inconclusive. Bobby had the large hole in the back of his skull, but it was impossible to determine why the hole was there. Officials began to suggest that the family may have wandered from their car and got lost in the thick woodland and died of hypothermia. But Colton, Sherilynn's son, said that just doesn't make any sense because Bobby grew up in the country, and I mean proper country, he says. Apparently Bobby knew the nature and he knew what he was doing out in those woods. No way would he have got them lost like that. Connie added that if that happened, then why were they lying face down all together like that? Also, why did they leave the dog in the car? Madyson loved that dog and didn't go anywhere without it. She wouldn't have just left the dog in the car. Starlet has desperately tried to believe this particular theory, but in her mind it just defies logic. She said their bodies were found about 3 miles from the truck, but that's as the crow flies. When you're going round and about and up and down, it's near to 7 miles actually. No way could they have made it over that ground, especially with Bobby's bad back. Bobby would get in pain walking around the house, let alone covering that kind of ground in the mountains. Sherilynn's best friend Nikki added, "I do not believe they left the truck by choice." Okay, so this actually concludes all of the theories. So I'm gonna run down the list of theories and you tell me what do you think you would be leaning towards the most. First theory we talked about was that somehow witchcraft is responsible. The second one is that it was a drug deal or they ran into a drug meth lab. They saw something they were not supposed to see. The third theory would be that Bob Sr. killed his son and his family. The theory number 4 is that racist man who lived with the family and was kicked out by Sherilynn returned and killed him. Number 5 would be that depression was the reason for the family's death because someone committed a murder-suicide. And the last one is that they got lost in the forest and died of hypothermia. So we have 6 theories, and what do you lean towards the most?
Yeah, but 1 second. That hypothermia theory, it wouldn't explain the hole in Bobby's head.
Maybe it would, because think about all of the animals poaching around.
How wide was that hole in the head?
That's actually a very good question. I think that hole in the head.
I mean, if it has a very specific size, it would be obvious. But if it's like a big crack, then it could have been animal. No.
Yeah, the hole does almost indicate that. Yeah,
It's a bullet.
It's a bullet.
Okay, I'd go for anything else other than the paranormal.
Because you don't want to get scared.
Not necessarily, because it's kind of like, I don't know, way out there. Unless we're really going for the spooky side of things. Or the racist guy.
I mean, you're one to talk when you say that paranormal is not involved.
Yeah, so I'm gonna stray away far from that, and I'm gonna stick with reality.
For your own sanity.
Yes, definitely. And the racist guy, I think it's just a little too much. For the cult theory, I'm gonna rule it out because I don't know much about the cults. So I'm just gonna also not pick that. But for me, it could also be they were being followed. They walked through the forest, they went out of the car not by their own accord. They got shot. And then whoever shot them kept the gun. Because the gun was nowhere to be found, right?
Yeah, that's a very important detail that I don't think they found the gun.
Mm-hmm.
So where is it?
Yeah, because going back to that family suicide theory, if it were that, then the gun would be somewhere close.
Should be, in theory. Should be somewhere there, yeah. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if like, let's say, someone killed the two people and then committed suicide,
yeah.
the gun couldn't have fallen.
It's just right there.
It's gonna be right there.
Mm-hmm. But since it's missing, then there might be another person involved.
Yeah, that's actually a good. Yeah, that's a good detail, good catch. That where's the gun?
Mm-hmm. What do you think? Which theory would you go for?
It's so strange, but I keep coming back and forth. And,
paranormal?
No, not paranormal for me. I would say maybe I was thinking that maybe I was always leaning towards that Sherilynn did it.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that spiteful letter, because of Colton seeing that her mental state was deteriorating.
Yeah.
It just was the most easy explanation. But, I don't know why would they stop in the middle of the road. Maybe like they were forced to stop. And the fact that they left the dog inside of there, maybe they stopped because they had to stop. Like really quickly. Maybe someone knew that they had the money. I'm even thinking maybe Bob Sr. But the thing is, it would be very difficult to control a family of like 3 people with a little kid with a gun walking them up the mountain for so long. Why such a long distance? It would almost make more sense to me that also the fact that the money was never taken. The money was still in the car. I do think that maybe they were going there to meet someone and someone killed them. I'm thinking now that there is a chance that they were going up those mountains to hike out for like a spot and then someone potentially killed them. Either that or another theory could be that along the drive, for some reason, by accident or not, who knows, Madyson was killed, maybe in the car, and that the family members parked. They were so depressed. Now Madyson is dead. I can't even explain how that would happen, but they were like, let's go up into the mountains, and they committed suicide in those mountains. Once again, where's the gun? I don't know. So I'm thinking maybe if there's no gun, then I'm thinking that most likely the most logical explanation is in fact that they went up to meet someone there and they got killed and that person took the gun.
Yeah, but I was also going for that, but I don't know, this random fact that you said about...
Another thing I want to mention. It's not known for certain, I believe, that Sherilynn had the gun with her in the car. Maybe the gun was just, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it. Maybe she had it on her, but I don't know.
Yeah, but also, Charlene's husband, the dad, he could not walk properly for long distances, even around the house. That also doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make any sense. It's almost like, or I don't know. Maybe if he was very excited to see some plot of land.
Possibly, yeah.
Maybe, I don't know.
I mean, who was driving?
I think he was driving. I'm not sure.
Pretty odd.
Yeah, so I think nothing else that we could add to the Jamison family mystery. It's very unfortunate, and I hope we'll get some answers.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah, maybe somehow, some way this could still get solved. I'm hoping for that.
Me too.
Thank you for listening, and
See you soon.
bye.